Kate Spade. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We've had a lot of inquiries today, and so I thought it would be simpler just to call you all together at once, say a few things, and then answer your questions. We'll be concluding at 4:30. This morning, I certified the ballot for our November general election. Now, our ballots are complicated, and just to let you know what we certified, what races we certified the race for president, for all of our federal offices, state legislature, public service commission, board of regents, state board of education, the community colleges, the learning community coordinating council, the natural resource districts, the public power districts, the metropolitan utility district, reclamation districts, ESUs, judicial retention elections, and the statewide ballot measures. So we have a complicated ballot in our state, and this morning I certified it out to the counties, which will be preparing the ballots, and it's necessary to do that now because the statutes of the state of Nebraska require it. Now, as far as the statewide initiatives and the referendum go, we're going to have 6 of those that will appear on the ballot. Numbers were chosen for them today randomly. The sponsors of these initiatives were invited to be present when the drawing was held to assign numbers to them. You've received a media release that gives you the numbers. What we've certified for the ballot today are the following: protect women and children, private education scholarship partial referendum, paid sick leave, Nebraska medical cannabis patient protection, Nebraska medical cannabis regulation, and protect the right to abortion. Those will appear on our ballots in the general election in November. Now, one of the things that's occurred today is that one of the signature collectors for the medical cannabis petitions has been charged with a felony in connection with the manner in which he obtained signatures and potentially in the manner in which he is alleged to have falsified signatures. And the question comes up, well, what impact then does that have in terms of these 2 medical cannabis initiatives appearing on the ballot? And the answer is that our counties, you know, when we receive petitions, we send them back out to all the counties where they were signed and ask them to confirm the signatures. And then we receive them back. They have 40 days to do it. And may I say that I just read off a list to you of 6 different initiatives, 5 initiatives and 1 referendum. And they all had a large number of signatures that needed to be verified by our counties. So our counties, in a 40-day period of time, were required to verify upwards of 600,000 signatures. And I want to say that the counties did a remarkable job. They did a remarkable job of confirming the validity of the signatures that they found to be valid. And of course, there are also signatures that they found to not be valid, and those are disregarded. They aren't counted towards the thresholds that are required in order to get a position on the ballot. So our counties did just a remarkable job checking these signatures in this compressed period of time. The period of time that we have is specified by the Nebraska Constitution and Nebraska statutes, and we have met that time frame because our counties put the pedal to the metal and did a great job confirming these signatures. So some of the signatures that the Attorney General spoke about at his press conference this morning, no doubt were not counted towards the thresholds that were met. But then there are other infirmities, other irregularities that the Attorney General is looking into concerning the medical cannabis initiatives. And we are working closely with the Attorney General's office to help identify these irregularities and to identify the impact that they may have. Now, today is the deadline for certifying the ballot. That's a statutory deadline. That's a hard stop. And so we certified the ballot, and because the signatures that were called into question by the Attorney General's office were not sufficient to reduce the valid number of signatures below the thresholds required for the medical cannabis initiatives to appear on the ballot, I certified them for the ballot. This investigation, however, is not over. The investigation continues. We continue to cooperate with the Attorney General in this investigation, and even though the ballot has been certified, there is the potential that action could be taken subsequent to certification concerning these initiatives. The Nebraska Supreme Court, in one case, 4 days before an election, directed that an initiative that appeared on the ballot not be certified. In other words, it not be counted or that the results not be reported, because they found that that initiative was not good. There's another case where, well after the election had occurred and an initiative had actually prevailed, that the Nebraska Supreme Court said, but it's not going to become law because it's not lawful. So the fact that we had a hard stop and certified the ballot today doesn't mean that nothing further is going to happen with respect to the investigation and the signatures in the medical cannabis initiatives. All right, with that, let me just open this up for questions.
Do you anticipate that, I mean, if the circulator in Hall County is found guilty, or even if they threw out all of the signatures at EGAT, would that be enough to, I guess, toss the measures off the ballot?
You know, the question is, if all the signatures that are attached to the circulator who was charged in Hall County today were taken off, would that mean that the signature thresholds would no longer be met? And the answer is, at this point, it doesn't appear to be so. It doesn't appear that that's the case. But the Attorney General has found other irregularities related to the signature collection effort for the medical cannabis initiatives, and those have not been fully investigated as yet.
Can you give any details as to what those irregularities might be at this point?
You would have to ask the Attorney General. Yes, sir.
On board with that, with these signatures, hold on, I just lost my thought for a second. Go on.
Okay, well, after you gather them back, let me know. Does anyone else want to bail out Mr. Grinvalds while he's collecting his thoughts?
Happy with how this, I mean, pedal to the metal was kind of your term that you used, how this review process went.
I think that, first of all, as always, I think that the citizens of the state of Nebraska owe a debt of gratitude to our elections officials across the state, our county clerks, our county election commissioners, their staffs. They did a tremendous job in tight circumstances because there were so many of these to process. The question is whether or not we can do something to decompress the time frame. The time requirements that we have today are constitutional, and some are statutory, and we're looking at the question of whether or not we can ease up a little, spread out the amount of time. We're looking at other things as well in terms of how to spread out consideration of these matters. It's the same with the Supreme Court. I mean, the Supreme Court was under, well, let me put it this way. The Supreme Court acted with speed and dispatch in these cases that it does not act within in any other case, nor is it called upon to do so. So the question is, can we structure this in a way so that we ease up on all the people who are considering these initiatives when they come up in the future? Mr. Grinvalds.
Yeah, got it back. So during the signature verification process, did any local election officials come forward with any concerns about irregularities, or is this just something that you've heard from the Attorney General? I mean, have you heard it from any of those commissioners?
Well, this originated in Hall County, and the Hall County Commissioner Tracy Overstreet, who did a tremendous job. And she, like her colleagues, is absolutely dedicated. And when they found, as they did, that there were a number of signatures that were questionable from this collector, this information was turned over to authorities for investigation. So that's where this began.
As far as you know, is it localized just to that county, or from your talks with the Attorney General, is there worry of irregularities in other counties?
There may be irregularities in other counties as well.
But you haven't heard from those county commissioners about any irregularities. This is just from the Attorney General.
Right. I have not heard from any other county election officials other than Hall County.
2 weeks ago,
Let me just find out. Anybody else have anything they'd like to ask?
In the Attorney General's filing on your behalf in the school's case, there was kind of some question over whether you could decertify after making an official determination. After seeing the concurrence today from the Chief Justice and Justice Lerman, do you still feel as though it would be within your right to decertify in the future?
I intend to follow the advice given in the concurrence. Go.
your office 2 weeks ago put out a press release saying that there's kind of an unofficial certification of those, particularly in the medical marijuana petitions. Was part of the delay in doing the official certification in working with the Attorney General's office and law enforcement to investigate what was going on in Polk County? Is that what took so long there?
No, that didn't add much in terms of the delay. The delay is accounted for by the quantity of petitions and initiatives that had to be processed. That really is the overwhelming reason for the timing of all of this. Andrew.
After today's decisions that were pointed out, did it give you more clarity about how you will proceed in the future as far as single subject, as far as some of these other issues that were laid out?
I think the court's opinions today have added to the body of knowledge in terms of how we address single subject. It's helpful to us. Yes, sir. Fred.
Other than the medical marijuana initiatives, are there questions in your mind about whether any of the other initiatives will continue to be qualified and counted?
Yeah. The only initiatives where the signature collection became an issue were the two medical cannabis initiatives. We really didn't have any challenges to signature collection efforts with respect to the referendum or the other initiatives. So I don't expect there to be anything further on those.
And after this past couple of weeks, I mean, do you think that the voters and the public should have confidence in our petition system, in our court system, and how well it's being worked?
Well, the court system really performed remarkably well. The Supreme Court took these matters. They were briefed in short order, and the briefing itself was very competent. The court was fully apprised of the arguments on both sides. The opinions that the court handed down today are well reasoned and well articulated. Our judicial branch has really risen to this challenge and given us something that we can use and it is useful and helpful to us going forward, in addition to these specific cases. In terms of the petition process itself, I think that the public can have confidence that our elections officials are keeping a close eye on these, and that we do have mechanisms to look at these processes and to address them. John.
You said upwards of 600,000 signatures. Can you give us just a sense of the scope in history of Nebraska? I mean, how does this compare to previous elections? And just in terms of the crunch that these local workers had to.
So the question is, given the number of signatures that our county election officials had to work through, how does that fit in the larger context of things? And the answer is that this was far more than we have had to handle in the past. The quantity of initiatives that had to be handled by our office and by our county election offices is really considerably greater than what we have seen in the past.
Do you have a sense of what the closest was, just how much greater it might be?
I do not have a sense of that, but we'll get information to you for that. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Had the courts given you a clear direction on the private school scholarship referendum, would you have decertified it?
Well, that's what we call in the law a speculative question, and I don't answer those. I don't know what I would do. If things were different, would it be different? Yes, but I don't know how. I can't answer. I will say that I thought that the concurrence provided us with a good direction.
Wondering if you would weigh in on what you think it says about the electorate, about politics in Nebraska, that this was the most that you've ever had to deal with in terms of signatures, in terms of those ballot initiatives.
I'll leave that to others to comment on. Andrew. How much pressure was I under? I felt like we were doing our job. And every day that we were looking at these matters and considering the challenges that were being brought, my view of it has been is that this is our job in our office. And this is the job of state election officials across the state. And so I can't say that I felt pressure over this. I felt that this was the job that we were elected to do, and we did it. Okay.
When did you receive the last notice that signatures were done being validated and collected from county officials? Was it this week? Can you be more specific on that?
When was the last of the certifications received? It was this week.
Can you be more specific of what day that was?
No. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. It's good to see everyone.
I'm sure he's